didn't know you were there. I was about to do that.
Give me a tickle. I've got a really good story for after here.
Okay, let's do this. Come on.
Yeah.
If you're Madrid, you don't have to. You just come in and say, hi, we're Real Madrid.
Do you want a trophy?
Yeah.
Come over here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I actually had anxiety on your behalf. Just you saying that phone call would freak me out.
Sometimes it is difficult to try and juggle, I feel like, just everything while still trying to look like a professional broadcaster.
Yeah. For professional purposes, we're lovely people. In reality, we're bitches.
Brought to you by SkyBet.
Hello, I'm Kelly Cates and welcome to our show, part of the Overlap Network, Not Just Football, brought to you by SkyBet. I'm joined by Hayley McQueen and Christine Lampard, and we're here to not break down the beautiful game, but to discuss how it impacts our lives on and off the pitch. We're not even in the January transfer window. We're certainly not, anywhere near the summer transfer window. And yet there is so much speculation about contracts because they're going to be up in the summer. So we're now into the final year, and particularly of the three Liverpool players. Virgil Van Dijk, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mo Salah. But I think the interesting thing about them is that they're all at different stages of their career. So you've got Virgil is absolutely at the peak. Trent, pretty much there, but just still has a little bit more time in him. And then Mo Salah, who you feel, there's no sense of a decline just yet, but he's getting to that age where the recovery takes a bit longer and everything just feels, it's not playing, it's the recovery that starts to get longer. The aches and pains. But I just think it's interesting, you've got three players whose contracts are going to be up, who are at very different stages of their career, very different stages of their life, and very different potential challenges ahead.
Yeah. But just look at where Liverpool are. I'm like, would you want to be leaving a club if you know, particularly if like maybe in January, because Trent's been linked with a move away, Real Madrid, I think that's come from the Spanish media, that it might even go in January.
But Madrid do that, don't they? Every time Madrid sign a player, especially because they have all the president is up for re-election or something like that, but that is their MO of how they get players. They start to put stories out and then they unsettle them and then it kind of all takes off. Yeah. And if you're Madrid, you don't have to. You just come in and say, hi, we're Real Madrid. We regularly win the Champions League. Do you want to come and play for us?
Do you want a trophy? Yeah. Come over here.
Yeah, exactly. We have this cabinet to show you. If someone like that comes in for you, it's so hard to turn down.
Or some complete random place, which Frank did with New York, where suddenly you think it's not just about the football. It will always be the crucial part, but maybe there's a life aspect to it as well. Maybe we get to experience something completely different for a short period of our lives, which is how we approach that. We'll never do this again. No one's ever going to offer you this. Maybe it's just a case of living with that. Let's go with it. Let's roll with the opportunity. It's not forever. So you can't. It's how you view it, certainly. And I think if you're lucky enough as a player, which thankfully Frank was, where injury wasn't sort of the major issue, it's not taken away from you too quickly. So therefore, it does afford you really incredible opportunities potentially.
And you think about your life, but you also think about what you could achieve for a lot of these players with their countries. I mean, Virgil actually only played his first ever major tournament at the last Euros. So if he's going to want to play in maybe a World Cup, it might be a World Cup, it'll probably be the last chance he's going to get to play in a World Cup for the Netherlands. You've got to make that decision as well. You're maybe not going to go to Saudi or the States potentially if you want to still be playing at the highest level. And if you take the risk of moving away from Liverpool somewhere, it's got to be a football decision. Do you think with that in mind as well?
Yeah, there's so many, like you said, there's so many factors that are going to come into this decision, and this is what they're going to be weighing up. I mean, the idea that this is going to be an easy decision for anyone just seems ridiculous. And I think even you look at Trent Alexander-Arnold, and it's because of the injury to Dani Carvajal at Real Madrid that Carlo Ancelotti was asked about it. He said, and he sort of suggested that they weren't going to bring anybody in January, which is not to say that they won't, but he's certainly saying that at the moment. But that emotional connection to the club as well, coming through as a kid who was a Liverpool player and, as he said, lived his dream and won the Champions League, won the Premier League, and it's like, I wonder if, you think about, like as you said, if they're still in it, and he thinks, I've got a chance to win a Premier League trophy, actually not in COVID times, that I could lift this trophy in front of Anfield. There are so many.
With the fans.
Yeah, exactly.
And people
celebrate
backed
with
you
them.
all those years.
There's so much that's gonna come into this. But I think it's those human aspects that I think people don't see. You can look at the club and you can say, well, if they come, who's going to replace them? You know, are they replaceable players? What do you do? What do they bring to the side? What are they going to give if they move elsewhere? What could they win? But there's so many other things that come into play.
And to replace them, you look at how many millions that they're going to be losing if they're like to let Virgil go, signing for 75 million. Like, think of what he's worth now. To let him go on a free, I just think, terrible business.
Yeah,
really.
Mind you, they've made it back, haven't they?
Well, I suppose they have.
Yeah.
They've made it back in the
list
meantime.
of his records speak for itself.
Yeah.
Really, I hear you. What do we think about players? I guess maybe losing their identity as well, a little bit, and making that move and kind of realize, well, where do I fit? Where am I? If you're known as sort of Mr. Liverpool, or you're very much part of a football club, or you've been there for a really, really long time in your life, how do you know whether you're going to be a fit, not just on the pitch, but with your surroundings and everything else that comes with it?
I would be terrible at that. I'm quite habit forming, and I like a bit of structure, really.
And
I like
familiar.
I like normal people. And then suddenly to be sort of told, and this is every walk of life, this is every single job if you're there for any length of time and you've got your little routines. It's then to suddenly go, no, but this is, I feel like I belong here. And then it's being taken out of your hands that you have to find another belonging, you have to fit in somewhere else. I think no matter what job you do, that's an issue, you know?
It takes me so long to make a decision. It has to kind of sort of be in the back of my mind for so long that by the time I make the decision, I will look from the outside as though I've made the decision really quickly, but actually it's just been kind of on the back burner for a long time, months, possibly even years, and then suddenly I'll make that decision. But I don't know, maybe you get more decisive as you get older. Perhaps you're more aware of what you want to do. That if you're Mo Salah and you're right, this is the last deal of my career. If you're Virgil Van Dijk, this is the last big deal of my career. You go into it with a different mindset from a Trent Alexander-Arnold who's going into this thinking, this is for me to realise my potential. Where's the best place for me to realise my potential? There's more variance in those factors, isn't there?
Of course, because you want to win as much as you can, don't you? You know, regardless of maybe where you are. When you come to the end of your career, you do sit back and go, yeah, I did that, albeit not where I started, but still did it.
I don't know what would be better or worse if a contract comes to an end of a footballer, or your TV contract comes to an end and suddenly you're just out there and you're having to make a decision and you're kind of just thrown in.
Yeah.
Or whether leaving somewhere and making a move, because then you have the regret. I don't know. Yeah. Do you have the regret? Will you have
you done it?
I've had a decision to make where I could have left a job I was in. I could have left Sky a few years ago. But I feel safe. But it's like, should I stay because I feel safe? Probably not. But am I still challenged? Yes. Do I love where I work? I'm actually happy here. And I felt like the move could have been a bit of a risk. And I was just about to try and, I had for a long time been trying to have a baby, but we were kind of getting nearer and nearer. And I was like, actually, I need to think about that as opposed to just me and a career, because I'd essentially 10 years before that put off having a family because of a career. I was like, you just need to forget all of that and do what I feel I need to do with my heart, I guess, rather than my head. So I made a heart decision.
Yeah, is it? Because when I left Sky Sports News in, God, I can't remember what year it would have been, like 2006, I think it was, after the Germany World Cup. And I'd been there for a long time. I'd been there for sort of 8 years. And I was just, 2006, I just turned 30, I was turning 31. I was engaged but not yet married. I knew I wanted to have children quite soon at that point. And it had just been for a long time kind of filtering away and just kind of running in the back of my head. And I came to the end of my contract and was working under my new contract, and just within the space of about 3 days made the decision. I just was driving into work one day and I walked in and I said, I don't want to sign this new contract. I want to go. I had nothing to go to.
Oh gosh, that's so brave.
I just walked away and but I was so sure that I had to go and make that change. And I've done it. I did it when I left university to go to Sky, which is different because then you get something that's really exciting and shiny and new dangled in front of you, and you think, I'm going to take this jump. But that's the scariest one I did, where I just went, that's it. I just
I
made
think
that
sometimes
decision.
you talk about listening to your gut and your heart, and sometimes when they're both aligned, it's an overpowering feeling, and you kind of almost think, if it doesn't work out, I still know it felt right. And I think that's actually quite a powerful position to be in.
Everybody
sometimes.
says that it's when you wake up the next morning and you still feel good about it. That's when you know you've made the right decision, when it feels like a weight off.
Absolutely.
Rather than a kind of sinking feeling
I
in the
really
pit of
admire
your
people as well. You know, that I've worked with some people that have gone off and done exactly that, where they've had a really good job and they said, I'm going to go on a year out to one in America and one in Australia, and they've both just excelled in television. One's very, very high up in the various networks on both sides. And I just think, that's brilliant. That's really, to me, I have huge admiration for people, because I know I probably wouldn't have had the guts to ever do that. So I really have a huge admiration for people that go, no, I'm going to give it a whirl. If it doesn't work, I'll come up with something else. That takes that sort of grit and determination. I think is brilliant.
A best friend of mine just went off to work for Real Madrid TV. Before you knew it, 3 years later, she was presenting in Spanish. It's like, are you kidding? And now, like, anchors out in the States. Okay,
Did she not speak Spanish before she went out?
None, nothing. Just went on a whim.
Nada.
Yeah. I know.
No hablo español.
So she... I was going to say, je ne comprends pas.
Good luck with that.
It's funny how, like, friends as well, you can kind of run parallels. We've never been really competitive. We've like championed each other. And I'd gone to Man United TV. She'd gone for that job, but it didn't work out. I then got it, having been at Sky. I went on loan for a season, stayed for 4 years. I was like, they're just winning everything. This is too good. It was like Sir Alex in charge, and it was just brilliant. I say we, completely impartial here. Man United were just winning, and it was brilliant. I got to travel, and it was wonderful. And she went off to work for Real Madrid TV. Then I'd gone off to do a little bit of Al Jazeera. She'd gone abroad. She then went to go and work. She was in Miami. I was like, this is great. I visited a friend in like Madrid whenever I want. I've got a new holiday place to go to. I'm thriving. And then moved East Coast, just left Miami and went to Connecticut. As I'd kind of gone to Sky, and you see like Rebecca Lowe out in the States as well. You're just like, you're so proud of these people for taking a leap.
It's brilliant.
And like 10 years later, they're still there, anchoring a sport that has just grown and grown and grown. So it's like our homegrown talent still flying the flag out in the States.
Big deal.
But the decisions, I don't know if they get harder or easier as you get older, because my eldest is about to kind of later in the year, this time next year, we'll have decided on her A-level choices, and we're going through all of this. And I know from my own experience, it doesn't really matter that much unless you want to go and do like medicine or something that you need specific A-levels for. Mostly it's you go, and if you're going to go and get a degree, go and do that. Or if you want to leave, then leave. And you can make all these decisions again. You can always change your mind. You can always change direction.
It's going with what you enjoy, isn't it, at this stage?
She's like, but Mum, this feels like her path is being, written in black ink, and there's no way out of it for her. And it's really hard to kind of try and tell her it doesn't really matter, while still at the same time acknowledging that it's really important to her and it matters to her what she wants to do.
This is the first big decision, really, isn't it?
But you can see from our perspective, you can see it's quite low risk. If you get this wrong, just do it again. Just do something differently. Just make another decision. Whereas when you get older, although you know yourself better and you know what you want better, you make that decision and you think, I'm risking so much. You have so much more to lose if it goes wrong. You don't have the time to go and change it.
That's
you don't
true.
have
Did you know exactly what you wanted to do, what you wanted to study, where you wanted to be? Did you have it kind of mapped out?
Weirdly, I always want to work in television, like sort of behind the cameras. But so in terms of studying, I just always did what I thought I enjoyed the most.
Yeah.
Because like you say, if you needed to do medicine or something very specific, of course I needed biology and maths or whatever. But I didn't have that. So I actually did English, art and politics for A level. And then I went and did politics at Queen's University in Belfast. And really, I mean, I was never going to be a politician or indeed probably ever talk about politics again. But it was something that I enjoyed. And, you know, it's another thing. It's another, you know, thing that you can say I really enjoyed it. People are always quite shocked that you did politics. And I went, yeah, no, I'm a bit shocked at that too. And then weirdly, it was very focused on English, sort of British and Irish politics, and I switched and did American for the year, and I loved it. So I actually found something I really did enjoy, and again, never used it, but it makes
You went to New York with
Went to New York,
and,
yeah, so I have an idea what the primaries are all about. You know, I know the influential states, I'll be following the election clearly, you know, rough idea of what's happening. So yeah, it's again, that's what I'd be saying to your daughter, and my stepdaughters too. I've said it constantly. So go with your heart now. If you don't know what the outcome is, you can't do anything about it anyway. So
and the point of sort of academic progress isn't necessarily what you're learning, again, unless you're going into something vocational.
It's life lessons,
It's training your brain and teaching yourself discipline and all of those other kind of lessons that you're going to take and that you then can apply to the rest of your life, even if you don't use the minutiae of the data.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that idea of kind of, you know, the choice between your gut and your head, I mean, that comes down to, you know, whether or not you go for your dreams. Because, you know, for so long we were all sold that idea in the sort of midst of Pop Idol and all of that kind of thing. It was, but I'm following my dream. And it was like, but you can't sing. And it was like,
Mum's told me I can. You know.
But you can't, you know, sometimes following your dream isn't practical. I think there's a lot of advice that is like, do you know, do what you're good at and make that your passion as well.
That's it.
Rather than do it the other way around.
I remember just making me think there about sort of the X Factor stuff, and I remember it was a young girl, this is so many years ago, might have been Pop Idol in fact, and it was that, I remember the line of, I'm following my dream, and so of course everyone's thinking she's going to be brilliant. And she said, my mum constantly says, turn the music off. And I'm like, Mum, it's not the music, it's my voice. And it's not the CD, it's me singing. And then, of course, she goes to sing and she's awful, poor girl. And you're like, oh. And you genuinely think, she is crushing her dream now.
Yeah.
And you go, that's the other way.
There's the other side of that, which is the whole duty of care.
Well,
you know, putting young kids like that on screen
it's changed
to be
somewhat now, it's got to be said.
Yeah.
That's sort of TV kind of the past. But I remember it because of it being so painful to watch.
Exactly.
So, but again, it's back to the reality of the dream. That's sort of what I was trying to say. It's nice to sort of in some way think that you can obtain something that is achievable.
And, you know, it's all very well and good following your dreams, but people then will have bills to pay, and you have to you have to put food on the table. You have to heat your home. You know, you can't just go, well, I'm just going to decide that this is what I want to do, and sacrifice your kind of basic requirements for life.
Do a job that you love and you never work a day, and you're like, that's fair enough, but you know, I can't find that, so and I've got to pay the mortgage.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It is hard. My brother's girlfriend, hopefully wife to be one day. If he managed, there's no proposal yet, but one day.
Should we do this now?
So should we propose on his behalf?
Shall
now?
we? Yeah.
She was on X Factor and she lost out to Little Mix. She was 16.
No.
Her dad, and Amelia
bet I
Lily
remember
from Teesside. Amelia Lily.
Of course I do, yes.
So,
she's a great voice.
Yeah, and she still does, but she's kind of stepped away. She had her dream, then she kind of got to 20 and it was like, now what do I do? And of course missed
Hayley,
out.
I think I interviewed you.
Yeah, oh, have you?
Yes.
So it was her 30th birthday at the weekend, but of course I missed it because it was my wee one's birthday the week before, and I stupidly decided to have a party on the same day. But I didn't know my brother was throwing a party because it was going to be a surprise, and of course being the brother doesn't communicate with his sisters. Duh. But we'll see her when we go back for Halloween and stuff. But she's been a wonderful influence on my brother. He's 10 years older than her, but you would think it was the other way around because she's had to grow up so fast.
Yeah.
It's been like unbelievable, really. She did a little podcast for a while on actual those from talent contests who didn't quite make it, and actually some who did, and how it's really affected them.
Goodness,
and because you do follow a dream, and before you know it, like, you're not earning money, you've kind of given up on education because you've followed this passion. So it's kind of, you have to be really careful with all of that. Just thought I'd throw it in there. And
No, it's interesting because then Will Young didn't win it, did he?
No,
Gareth Gates won
Gates.
it, and it actually worked. Oh no,
No,
Will Young won it
Will Young
unexpectedly.
won it. Yes, and Gareth
but it
Gates.
wasn't until he actually split with the recording agency,
And he went off and did
he
his
went
own-
on his own
that's right.
thing, and he went off on his own thing. That's when he reached the kind of higher levels of success, more than just the hit single that you get for
That's it.
for winning
That's
X
exactly.
Factor.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of different decisions, tough decisions that I've made throughout the year, because we've done, I've kind of, there was a decision to leave university, there was decision to leave Sky Sports News and go, and then I ended up going back to Sky in the end later on, but then also even deciding to end a relationship.
True.
And deciding to sort of, break up a marriage when there's children involved, and that's a
one of the
huge
biggest
thing,
ones.
and you have to sort of take everything into consideration and decide whether or not that's going to be something that that you're going to damage your kids forever, and how you kind of mitigate that, or whether being in a relationship that isn't working is more damaging to them, and how that works, which is...
And still trying to work and keep afloat and put a face on and be on TV and pretend, even if it's a decision you might have taken that is a decision is going to be the right decision, is causing you heartache, worry, stress, and you're just having to turn up to work and put on a face and be happy, and life is
certainly
good.
one of the toughest ones, I think, that people
Yeah.
have to confront.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Although, have either of you ever ended a friendship?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You cold bitch.
Yeah. No.
What happened?
It was a really quick answer too, wasn't it?
This was
I cut her
I just had too many friends. But there sometimes does get to a point where you think, well, I just haven't heard from them for years. So are they? But
They've been busy.
No.
They could have randomly called you out of the blue, Hayley, and went, I've missed you so much.
I won't get
They're
into
dead to
it.
you
But
already.
it was a friendship groups where a partner of one ended up with a friend.
Right. Oh, so it was complicated.
It was very complicated.
Oh, that
And did you
Yeah.
have to have a
Crossover.
conversation about ending the friendship?
No, I could never have done
Did
that.
you
Would
just
have been
phase
horri-
that person out?
Yeah, and it was the worst thing. Sleepless
Ghosting,
nights.
as they call it now, I
Ghosting a
guess.
friend, imagine that. It's not nice.
Like soft quitting a friendship.
Just
Just
Yeah.
do a little bit less maintenance, little bit less maintenance.
It's terrible, isn't it?
Do you know, I'm now thinking of friends that I'm maybe not as close to as I used to be, or that we don't get in touch as much. And I'm wondering, am I being soft quitted?
Oh,
Am I being
God.
ghosted?
my gosh.
There's me thinking, it's fine, it doesn't matter, we don't see each other, it's okay. But they might be doing it on purpose.
Well, maybe they
Never
think they're,
occurred to
you're
me.
doing it to them, though. This is the problem.
Yeah.
It's such a... And then if there's
unfriendling.
no...
Whatever it is.
Yes.
Yeah,
God.
conscious, yeah.
Yeah, I'm being consciously
Unfriended.
unfriended.
Unfriended. But I think that's the difficulty when we don't pick up the phone and speak properly anymore, or if you don't meet each other face to face. Everything's voice notes, text, and everything
Yeah.
else, and so many things can be taken out of context.
That's true. That is true.
I find that really, really difficult, and also life takes over, doesn't it? By the end of the day, by the time I've got children to sleep, bathed, cleaned up, done all the usual houses, I can't actually speak anymore.
Let alone make big decisions.
Let alone make... There's no decisions being made. It's like... I can't even decide what to watch. Frank will say, "Oh, do you want to watch something?" I'm like, you just choose. You choose. I'll watch anything.
I don't
It's
think
like,
anybody should make a big life decision while their children are tiny.
No.
Unless it's an issue of safety or something, extreme.
Yeah.
But I don't think people should make big choices. Well, I mean,
No, I agree.
I'm going to say preschool age.
Yeah.
I think
Thought about
because
it,
I don't think you're
I am absolutely
yourself.
No.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just sort of getting my life back a little bit, and I've just been dragged through this I mean, it's been the best fun, and it's like wonderful, isn't it, having the little
Oh
ones?
yeah, gosh.
I just don't function properly as a human being. I have, that friendship conversation, I wrote down a list in my notes of my friends to remind myself. I was like, oh, of course, I hardly speak to Lindsay, but like, and I remind myself to just check in with friends sometimes.
Oh, that's very good.
Because I'll go for a really long time I've got a couple of friends in Manchester that I used to work with, but unless I'm going up to Manchester and think, oh, I'll try and see if they're free, why not just like check in and just like say hi?
Yeah.
I mean, like friends' kids' birthdays, I'm always missing them and I feel so guilty. And you've got that one friend who's always sending cards and text messages, and I'm like, oh, you celebrated your little one's 7th birthday
It's
3
when
weeks
you,
ago.
it's when you get a text through saying happy birthday to your daughter from somebody that you don't send those messages to.
Yeah.
Just the guilt,
And it's meant
awful.
so well, but oh my God, it makes
And
you
some
feel
people
terrible.
are just particularly good. Some are, like, I have definitely got a couple of friends that must write everything down in diaries.
Yeah.
Must, and I'm talking about other children's birthdays. I don't mean
Yes.
their own family. Everything is remembered. And I have huge admiration for it because I just can't do it. I wish I was more like that. It's a
We went for
personality thing, I think.
School friends, mum night out. And the last one we went on, one of them wrote down everybody's birthdays in her diary. And now, it's great. Now she puts it on the group chat, and she is
the instigator,
Yeah,
the
she's
birthday
a reminder
instigator.
alert.
Oh, okay.
So she writes it down. She's like, "Oh, happy birthday to whoever," and we're like, "Oh yeah, happy birthday. Have a great day." It's like,
she is the
she's
person
great.
I aspire
what
to
you
be, but it's never going to happen now. But I hugely admire them.
Yeah.
Albeit,
Do you know what?
so
I'm now slightly nervous because we've gone. When you've got young children at home, you're not yourself and you don't think straight. You still do your job because that's the one that you prioritise, isn't it? It's just making big life decisions. I certainly don't want to suggest, as has been raised, that women with small children aren't capable of doing anything.
Well, I got a call the other week. Hayley, hi, how are you doing? I was like, oh, I wonder why my producer's ringing me. I was like, you all right, Vicky? He goes, yeah. Where are you? I was like, I'm just in the car. And he was like, you with the little one? She was singing in the background. I said, yeah, we're off to get her school uniform. He's like, you're on air in 15 minutes. I was like, well, I'm obviously not, am I? And I was like, but it's Tuesday, not Wednesday. I don't work on a Tuesday. He's like, well, you're down on the rota. And I'm like, I bet I've just agreed to go in on a Tuesday. I had absolutely no idea.
Had you not written it down?
But I was like, surely before quarter to the hour, you would like know that I'm just not there. Like, where is she? I'm normally hanging around, doing the coffee run. He was, just
oh my gosh,
here.
I actually had anxiety on your behalf.
Thought,
just you saying that phone call would freak me out.
Do you know what happened the same day? And this is probably the karma. My car broke down. And I was stuck with the little one in the car. I was with her in the car. It was horrendous. It was raining. My neighbour had to come and get her because we had to step outside the car and stood. There was no shelter. It was just like stood off the motorway near Beaconsfield Services, just with the little one, because you can't sit in the car, can you? No. So my neighbour came and took her away. So I was like, had I have tried to get to work, I couldn't have got there anyway because it had a blowout.
You were not
tire.
meant to go to work that day.
I was not supposed to be at work.
No, absolutely.
And I think there was I think it was a really bad news day as well.
I was going to say, what stories were around that day?
I should have checked back on that, but I was like, I'm kind of glad I wasn't there today.
Yeah, there was something.
But that's just, my brain. I was like, what? Why are you ringing me? Yeah. It's terrible.
I know, but
someone had to stay on for an extra 3 hours, having been in since 4 a.m.
She's what?
Sorry.
Where is she?
But I thought I'd been in hair and makeup for 2 hours. I was like, I suppose so.
That's the person that you remember to text to say sorry to, isn't it? You go, oh, really sorry, I didn't.
But you know that it does worry me sometimes that you talk about these things, and we're sitting here talking about how when your children are small, you shouldn't really be making big life decisions. You shouldn't be and little things just kind of slip by the way. And then I think, are we doing women of and mothers of small children a disservice by saying, oh, these women, none of us at that stage can cope with kind of...
So it's a reality sometimes. It is difficult to try and juggle, I feel like, just everything sometimes, like more than I ever thought I would have to take on, while still trying to look like a professional broadcaster.
Yeah. But I think and I'm lucky at the minute because Frank has R2, so I'm content, I'm happy with what they're doing, that I know they're fine and they're happy and safe, touch wood. So weirdly, because that bit I feel happy with, that makes me better when I have to get up to go to work the next day, because I think that bit's good.
Yeah.
So it allows me to actually really focus on what I'm supposed to be doing away from the home. And then I'll come back and everything, hopefully again, is okay. And weirdly, I think it's, I feel blessed though, because it's Frank in charge. I think if I was having to hand them over and you know, the hassles of picking them up from one house, that's really difficult for parents to try and figure all of that out. So, you know, there's no guilt attached to it then, really. It's just what's happening today. You know, and it's not every day, it's just today.
They've just got their other parent with them.
They've just got Daddy. Daddy's doing it today. Went and got their haircuts today. I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like when I get home.
Was he in charge of the haircuts?
Yes, I mean, he was given very specific instructions, and it's his best friend that cuts the hair. So, you know, there's I feel confident, but I'll let you know next time. Oh my God.
You're bringing the pictures next
I will.
time. I feel anxious now. You negotiate for yourself.
Oh my God, no.
Couldn't negotiate out of a brown paper bag.
Would you say that you know your worth?
No, I've negotiated to the point I've done something for free. And I could probably have asked for some money. I was like, oh, I'll just do it. I feel too guilty. I can't ask for actual money, but like, well, I'm doing a job, so like I should be able to. But it's really hard.
I think knowing your own worth, especially in this industry as well, where it is so varied across the board and where the skill set isn't tangible. You haven't climbed a ladder. You haven't sort of reached certain pre-decided levels. So you don't go through that kind of pay structure. There isn't a kind of an official pay structure. So it's really hard to work out what the going rate for anything
I think
really
if you were
is.
like a surgeon, as you say, there's almost a ladder to get into that point, isn't it? You started here and now you're there. And so it's almost mapped out for you. It gives you a rough idea of where you should be. But like you say, what we do is very difficult to sort of put a position on, because what is it?
Yeah, it's true. And even with experience and even with, you know, confidence that comes later on in your career, if it's still hard for us to do it, how much harder it is when you're young and you're just starting out. And I think, you know, everybody, when they're just starting a job, there is that or people certainly feel a sense of, well, you should be grateful for being given the opportunity, and you know, plenty of people would bite your arm off for this opportunity, and this would be, but you still have to know your worth. And I think that would be the hardest thing I would struggle to give advice on to anybody, is how to know your worth and how to negotiate for it.
I remember getting a pep talk from Jim White before going in to have these kind of discussions, because Sky don't really speak to agents, or at that time weren't speaking to, you just had to go in yourself. And I felt like I was going for a job interview again. And he was like, Hayley, you've got to just do this, just ask for that, know your worth, you're this, you're sat next to me. And he's like, you just tell
that's
them.
the biggest point.
I said, well, I've got to put up with you, so that is going to be the first thing I go in there with, see this guy. And he's like, you just tell them what you want. He goes, I said, but, because I was like, what do I ask for? And he goes, you don't ask, you tell them. I was like, how? But how? And he was like, well, you just go in. And I was like, I just didn't feel like it was as easy as that. I was like, it is good, you do have men championing you, but it was like, it's obviously easy to him and others. It certainly wasn't for me. I felt sick. I was like, I had to sit down. My knees were literally
it's horrible. But you think, is that a hangover of many, many, many years of women not being in charge of their own purse strings? You know, that really is sort of in the past few decades where that has started
like a sort
to shift,
of generational
obviously.
Memory.
It's like, it is something that's maybe just an inherent thing where we kind of haven't had and of course things are changing, but I'm talking about the build up to where we're getting to at this stage. It's taken a long enough time, and so that's sort of knowing your worth, and it's my money and I don't have to ask anyone else whether I can spend it on this. You know, we're still kind of catching up, aren't we, to a certain extent?
Yeah, and I would think, because, you know, sort of generations ago, women were raised to be quite meek, and there was a sense of, you know, the perfect woman is just quite acquiescent, and but. And so I was thinking about this, and we were, you know, raised by women who were raised those women who were raised by those women. But then I was thinking about my mum's mum, who was not like that at all. She was like on things like that, she'd be quite tough, and would be quite strong on that kind of thing, and would very much kind of hold the purse strings in the house. That was her role, really. She organised the financial side of things. Yeah. So I think broadly speaking, that's true. But I think there've always been exceptions to that as well. But there is definitely that residual thing of, it's not very nice, is it? It's not very nice to go in. And,
it's not very ladylike to go in and like be a boss.
I have friends who get a kick out of it. Yeah. I have friends who get a real kick out of a negotiation. It's like it's a real win for them. And again, I think it's a bit of a personality thing. Some people enjoy that. Where I just don't like the uncomfortable nature of it. And that's my mindset. I shouldn't look at it maybe as being uncomfortable. This is just a conversation as a grown-up. But I just prefer not to have it.
Yeah. It's even like when we go to the markets when you're abroad, and my other half will be like, you know, bartering with them, and this, no, but do it for this, and throw that, and I'm like, I get really embarrassed. I was like, just whatever it is, I'll just have it. What's the price? And he's like, no, you don't ever pay the price. I'm like, no, I just don't like it.
And then
step away.
I've done that when I went to a market and somebody said, no, people get offended if you don't barter with them. That's part of the process. And I was like, but I don't think you understand. I can't do it. I don't understand where to go. And if somebody came to me and said, it's £10, I'd be like, 9? You know, like when Alan Partridge negotiates on the house.
Oh my God.
Yes, I have.
I'd be like that. I'd be like,
how much it was?
Okay. Will you take £4 Sunday? Fine.
Deal.
I feel like that with the girls. I want to be able to give them these tools, and I don't know how to do it. I'm going to have to outsource it to friends of mine who are really good. But then I think their background has been more in the business world, so that's kind of like you said, just part of their everyday language. That's what they go in and they do. So I'm going to have to kind of push them in the direction of their godmothers and say, you need to talk to them about this stuff because...
But that's it, that's
it's
fine.
Not for me.
Exactly, they're good at it,
We have to remind us that we're not living in the pre-70s world where when you look at, you know, the stats, before then it was legal to pay women significantly less than men for the very same job. You have a man and a woman applying for a job, and you could essentially pay the women what you want. The men would ask.
And that was because the sort of societal reason for that was that men would have to support their family, and women were sort of doing it as a vanity project or a hobby. Whereas I mean it's pretty much impossible now to live on one person's wage. I think for most families, you need to have 2 wages coming in, even if one of them is part-time or however that works. So it's important that. Because women are mostly in the workplace. It's important.
You're lucky you've got a full-time living nanny with Frank, haven't you? So you're all right.
Yeah. And I don't want to ever lose it. It's very, very useful. It's the best thing. And because I never had it, you see. So I've had a year now of having him at home. It's fantastic. He's not there all the time, don't get me wrong, trust me. But
which is a good thing.
He works around me. We do. We have a very good balance. We're like, what are you doing on Wednesday afternoon? And we kind of do it like that. But it works. Currently, there's a system.
I do wish when I was younger, there are certain moments where I think, I wish I'd if not negotiated for myself, I'd told people what I wanted. I'd been more open about what I wanted rather than, because I think when I first started working in television, I think I had this Hollywood idea that somebody would come and see this dazzling potential and pluck me from obscurity and say, we're going to build this around you. You are a star in the making. And but you have this kind of weird Hollywood mentality that somebody will see your potential and they will help it grow. But then you think, but I never told anybody what I wanted to do. I just sat there quietly, got on with my job, and was like, I'm sure somebody will notice. As I sat there quietly and just got on with things, and it takes. I think that would be the thing I would say is always tell people. You know, when younger women who are starting out come to me, it's one of the first things I say. I'm like, what do you want to do? And then they'll say in a conversation, they'll say, and I'm like, make sure people know that.
Yes.
Not that you're not focused on the job that you're doing, but make sure they know what your ambitions are, because
True.
if there are opportunities, they'll think of
They'll
you
think
and
of
they'll put you in that kind of situation.
I'm really good in speaking on other people's behalf.
Are you?
I'm brilliant then, or sticking up for someone else. It's those things I can do that if I feel sort of passionately about it, or if I think someone at work is doing a brilliant job and I know they want to do something else.
Yeah.
I will happily say, you do know that she's wanting to do this and she's so brilliant. I've done it with quite a few runners in my time that you can spot straight away they're going to go really far. And I love seeing them all of a sudden. I have one particular protege who's currently, she's done Love Island and is now on Bake Off. But just a great young girl, and I think you're going to run this entire company at some stage. Because she's just got something in her. But so that I love that. That gives me great pleasure. It's just, I wouldn't do it for myself. Yeah. But I'm fine with that.
Do you ever feel responsible if you've recommended somebody?
Oh my God, it's so...
And you've got to be very careful. Promoted them, but you've kind of pushed and you've said, you've put them in front of somebody and you think, please do well, please do well. Like for you, mostly, but a little bit.
Yes.
So that,
Because I would have wanted that person championing me, and I think, well, if, you know, we could all sort of pass that on a little bit.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want people nowadays to have some of the regret, nowadays, sound like an old lady, to have some of the regrets that I had. Going back to what you said there, not standing up for yourself or not actually explaining what you want to do or the ambitions that you have, just sitting there kind of waiting. There've been so many opportunities of, presenting this little thing or reporting on that or hosting this. I would never put myself up for it because I was like, I have to wait to be picked for that. Whereas now I think young women either have somebody else championing them and telling them to go for it, or they know to look around a little bit more and keep their eyes open. You don't just sit and wait for an opportunity to fall in your lap kind of thing. I tell you what, this is particularly special today because we have our Super 6. It is so super. It's the final weekend of October rollover. Anyone over 18 in the UK can win £1 million. That's right, £1 million by predicting 6 correct scores this weekend. Enter for free. And we're going to have your predictions, please, ladies. We'll all get stuck into this. We start with Saturday, 3 o'clock kickoff, Manchester City hosting Southampton. I think this is a no-brainer, isn't it? Christine?
I'm going to go 3-1, Man City 3. Okay. Southampton 1.
Yeah, I think that, and because City concede early goals as well. So I think like an early Southampton and then
early one and then they go bang, bang, bang.
Yes, exactly. And then kind
of... They've not won yet and they're not winning at City, are they, this season? That's for sure. Okay. Right. Both these two teams won at the weekend, didn't they? Aston Villa up against Bournemouth.
Villa have got Tuesday night in the Champions League. It's Tuesday to Tuesday to Saturday their game is, isn't it? Tuesday to Saturday. So it's not the end of the, but they looked a bit leggy after the Bayern game, and I know that was Bayern, so it's difficult. And Bournemouth coming off the back of that win against Arsenal as well.
I know, Boyd.
And then a little week. But Villa Park, and I think Villa, but not an easy Villa win.
Okay.
I think
I'm going 2-1. Just putting it out there.
Villa 2. 1-0.
Villa 2.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking, Hayley?
I think 2-0.
Going for something a bit more comfortable.
I'll go with the clean sheet there, just for fun. Right, 5:30 on Saturday afternoon.
I'm working on that game.
Are you?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Everton, Fulham, both in contrasting form right now.
Yes.
What do you go on, Christine?
Well, they won Everton, didn't they? It was 2-0.
They did. Fulham have had a little dip.
Yeah, but they played well. I was at the game against Villa at the weekend, and they played well. Fulham.
I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They played well.
Scoreline doesn't maybe represent the.
Well, I just
just
wonder.
away,
If,
maybe a
sending
draw,
off.
maybe a 1-1, maybe.
Do they travel well?
I think Everton might have their tails up a bit, you know.
Yeah.
I think this could be an Everton win, I think. Oh, this is one of those ones where, you know, when you see the scores come through, if you've not seen anything all day and then the scores come through and you see any scoreline that's within reason, you sort of go, okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean. As opposed to, what?
I'm going to go Everton narrow win.
Okay.
Yeah, in that one. Maybe 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go draw.
Okay.
I'm going to go 1-1.
Okay, score draw, there we go.
Yeah.
Right, Sunday, Chelsea host Newcastle. So Stamford Bridge. Ooh.
See, I think Chelsea look like they're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
And although Newcastle lost, they played really well.
They did very well.
Brighton,
all those chances.
Quite lucky to get away without conceding in that game. But I think, and it's at Stamford Bridge as well.
Your professional opinions.
So this is it. This is the depth of it. I feel like we're giving far too much detail.
Yeah, I know. Just give me the score.
Yeah, just, do you know what it is? I like to check all my options beforehand, so I put all my excuses in place for when I get it. But it's so I can put all my excuses in place for when I get it wrong. I'm going to go Chelsea win, and I think Newcastle not scoring. I think maybe I'm going to say Chelsea 1-0.
Okay.
1-0. I'm going to say 2-1.
Okay.
Chelsea 2-1.
You're liking a 2-1 this week?
Yeah, I do like it. Yeah,
There you go.
I feel safe saying that for some reason.
West Ham, Man United.
Oh, gosh,
oh my God, this is anyone's guess, I think, right now.
Man United win this, I think.
Yeah.
In this fixture last season, they lost.
I know, but I just think
badly.
They're starting to come together a bit.
Are.
There's a little performance from Rashford.
I'm just being
there
a bit
was
pessimistic.
West Ham against Tottenham sort of collapsed a bit in that game. They're back at home, and I think Man United.
Okay.
And actually, I'm fairly confident.
Oh, okay.
More so than I'm probably my second most confident prediction after the City game.
Okay.
Oh,
I might go to that on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah. So there we go.
Man United.
That's just sold
Man
it to
United
me.
for me as well.
Thanks. Right, Arsenal, Liverpool.
I think Arsenal win it.
You just said no. This.
I think Liverpool.
The Tottenham fan in the corner.
I think Liverpool.
No, I mind you, the only thing I would say, no Saliba. No Saliba for Arsenal.
That is true.
But I think Arsenal are... the thing is, Arsenal did well in those fixtures, the City-Liverpool fixtures last season, but didn't win the title. And City didn't do as well in those fixtures, but did win the title. And I think although this feels like a massive game in terms of what happens come the end of the season, it might not actually have a bearing on it. And having said all of that...
I'm saying Liverpool are going to win.
See, I think it's... I think... No Saliba, so I think Liverpool will score.
Okay, there you go.
It'll be quite controlled.
That's my one.
Arsenal. I'm going to say Arsenal 2-1. They'll get a goal from a set piece. Liverpool will get one, but Arsenal will win it.
Okay, there we go.
That's my thinking.
And that is your final say. There we go.
Mystic Kel.
Mystic Kel. Super 6, £1 million on the way to us.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
What would you spend it on?
Oh, what would you spend it on?
Like, assuming you can't give it to charity or do anything, you can't do any actual good with it. Okay. This is a fantasy.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going to Lapland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Followed by the Maldives.
But to live.
I'm going, loading up.
Just driving a team of Huskies.
I would seriously take all my family and friends to go to Lapland to see
great one.
The real Santa.
Yeah.
No, and that sounds an utterly ludicrous thing to say, but I really would, because it's like a proper children's dream come true trip. That's my first thing, and there's loads of things after it, but I'll just make sure that was up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
I'll get a plane.
Well, mine is travel related, so I could, as part of mine, with stretching this million here, I would have for life transport, like somebody to just deal with transport for me. So I never have to drive or queue for anything or do it.
Right,
I find the whole...
Including flights and everything.
I find the whole process of travelling places really stressful. I like to be places, I like to go to different places, but I find the whole process of getting there really, really stressful. Trains are annoying, airports are annoying, traffic is annoying in the car. I find the whole thing is just a series of delays, which just get me more and more frustrated. So that's what I would do. Oh, Hayley, what would you spend your million on?
Just travel. I do like, I'm going to steal your idea. I do Lapland for Christmas. I'd hire a log cabin in Aspen for New Year and go skiing. I can't ski, I'll just go down on a sledge.
Learn.
It's the après ski.
Back to Santa again.
That's it. I'd go to the Maldives in January because why not? And then I'd probably spend my summer in like Bali or something. Yeah. I mean, if work want to give me the time off, that's how I would spend my money. Because you can't retire on $1 million anymore, can you? So
not
travel.
Yeah.
Voila. Right.
We'll start with one of yours this week, Hayley. What actress would you want to play in a biopic?
Oh, thank you. In a biopic. I mean, Cameron Diaz is not realistic. Maybe a Kate Winslet.
Yes. Oh no,
you could have Cameron. Yeah, you could definitely have Cameron Diaz.
100%.
Kate Winslet. Do you think she's a bit
her.
more realistic?
No, Cameron Diaz is realistic.
She's fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same hair. Holiday Back to Christmas.
Oh,
one of my
the
favourite
holiday.
movies
Me
of all
too.
time.
Oh my gosh. Yes, me
Yeah.
too.
See, I'd quite like a Kathy Bates. I'd quite like, no, because I'd like to be played. I'll tell you why. It's not like I'd love to be played as a psycho, like as a proper, because I feel like I'm I tell you why. Because I feel like I'm quite pleasant and bland. And so I think I'd like somebody to inject.
Like there's another side.
Yes. Like this is the secret she was hiding all that time.
Okay, so you've got the biopic and the actress then. There you go.
That's what I'd quite like. I'd quite like to suggest that I had a dark hinterland.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, just a little underlying thing, which makes me think you do. No,
exactly.
And I like that.
Yeah, see, we'll get it out of her at some point.
We will. We will.
Like the Hulk. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Yeah. Who would I? Well, I love my comedies, and I love Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who, going back again to Christmas movie, What's Wrong with Me? National Lampoon Christmas Vacation, she was in. And then going through Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, one of my favourite series of all time called Veep. And she actually did a series called with Christine was in the title, and I remember thinking we're inextricably linked now. But she always had long, dark, curly hair.
It's not.
And I never saw
Are
that
you okay, Christine, or something like that?
Something like that.
It's a question.
Yeah. Anyway, I adore her. Yes. So I just want to desperately meet her. So if there was any excuse.
Have you listened to her podcast?
Yes.
So good.
I haven't.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good. She's
When you
brilliant.
finish this
Another one to the
listen
list.
listen to her. Listen to Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah, she's my favourite. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, who's next?
Kel?
Here's one. When was the last time you did something for the first time?
Oh, I went
I'm
skiing.
so jaded.
I went skiing with my sister.
You said you couldn't ski.
I can't. That's why it was the first and the last time. It was horrendous.
But did you actually get on skis?
Yeah, I couldn't get up off the floor. I couldn't lift myself up every time I fell. We went skiing. We'd gone down one of these runs because it was the only way of getting back down because the lift things had closed by this point. So we had to ski. We couldn't. The instructor had to go off and be somewhere else. This is a true story.
He left you?
It was a girl, yes.
She
she
left
us, had to go off and be somewhere else. I think to help with bringing the little ones from the skis. He'd whiz past us like a little string of ducklings following the daddy duck. And we were just there like rolling over. Like I was a giant snowball like covered in snow. We slid down to the bottom on our bums the whole way to the point like I ripped my pants.
Did you think it was funny, or did you have a sense of humour failure?
We did actually. We laughed so much you couldn't get up, and my stomach muscles were killing, not from the skiing but from the laughing. And we went back every day and tried. but it was
just,
pitiful.
No,
Yeah,
that's it's soul destroying when you see those little
so
children
tough.
just go whiz past them.
That was the first. Sorry, just getting in on yours.
I haven't done anything for the first time.
Giving you time to think.
But because I'm so old and jaded. But I am going to learn paddle.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
well that's
At
taking the world
Chiswick, all of our
over.
lot are doing paddle.
Are they?
Yeah.
We should do,
Big
I
big
want
thing
to
at
go and
Battersea as well.
Yeah, I want to go and have
Have a paddle.
Yeah, have a paddle.
That's
I
what
want
it's
to go
called.
and I want to go get myself a little paddle bat.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's such a-
Personalised.
What is your unpopular opinion?
Oh, I've got loads. I feel like I've got loads of them, but I'm very
saved
They're
up
so
for that's a whole
unpopular.
episode.
psychotic kind of side to me.
That's another episode to be
Yeah.
enjoyed at a later date.
Subscribe to The Overlap and catch every episode of Not Just Football and more.